Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yah, all you witnesses, do not forget his benefits. Forgive the iniquity, till the diseases in my ligaments. The Redeemer and Creator, me from dust, he know I make up, merciful and slow to anger, gracious. Only one can save us, Yah, who satisfies my mouth with good things. Bless Yah, who renews me like the eagle's wings. Bless Yah, who made his ways known unto Moses and his acts to the children of Israel, who he chosen. Bless Yah. Bless Yah, oh my soul. Bless Yah, all his angels. Bless Yah, all his homies. Bless Yah, all his words. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. I will bless Yah at all times. His praise shall continually be in my rhyme. Praise Yah for unto what his glorious shine. Baruch Yah Malek Shemaim Alo Ba'aret. Praise Yah for he execute righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. He renewed my health like the eagle's wings. Yah Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Singing praises to your holy name. Bless, oh my soul. Oh my soul, singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul, singing praises to your holy name. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul. Bless Yahweh, oh my soul, singing praises to your holy name.
Shalom, shalom. Give it all honor, all glory, and all praises to the Holy One of YIsraEL. It is a great blessing to be able to give praises to the Most High and the little sanctuary that he has set for his people. My name is Mowreh ObediYAH YIsraEL of the House of YIsraEL, located at 1907 Vine Street. And I'm standing in for the senior Mowreh here at the House of YIsraEL, Mowreh IshYAH YIsraEL. And we're giving all honor, all glory, and all praises to the Holy One of YIsraEL, whose name alone is Yahweh. Now, who is Yah? Well, Yahweh is the creator of the heavens, the earth, the sea, and all that in them is. Yahweh is the Savior and the Redeemer of not just Israel, but of the entire world. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our judge, and Yahweh is our king, and he alone will save us. So we give all honor, glory, and praises unto the Holy One of YIsraEL, whose name alone is Yahweh. And this is nothing but the truth. And let me say shalom to all of our family that are listening via the internet, whether it be Facebook, Blog Talk, or YouTube. For we know that the only reason why you're tuned in is because of your love, your fear, and your love towards the mighty Yah, our Elohim. And what will we be discussing this evening? Well, we already had the part one of what Yahweh has done and the works that Yahweh has done and what Yahweh has established and what Yahweh has made. And it's also a distinction between what man is trying to make and what man has made and what man is trying to establish. And it's a vast difference. It's a far cry from perfect for what man has done. For the only way that man creation can be perfect is if it's following the commands and the words of the mighty Yah. That's the only way that it can be perfect. That's the only way it can be complete. That's the only way that it can be whole. Other than that, it's tainted. Other than that, it has folly. But if it's following the words of Yah, it's complete. And that's the difference between what Yah has done and what man has done. Because what Yahweh has done is complete. His judgments are complete. His commandments are complete. His statutes are complete. His laws are his laws are complete. Everything about the works of Yahweh are complete. And you see it because you can see the beginning from the end. Man, not so. So what happens is because man's work is incomplete, we try to put our work on top of the Most High's work and make it seem like something's wrong with what Yah has done. When in actuality, in reality, it's what we have done that's imperfect. It's what we have done that has caused error. And this is why Yahweh has said he has a controversy with his people. He said this in the book of Hosea, the 4th chapter. And in the book of Hosea, the 4th chapter, we'll begin reading at the very first verse. In Hosea, the 4th chapter, the first verse, it reads, "Hear the word of Yahweh, O children of Yisrael, for Yahweh have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, and there is no mercy, nor knowledge of Elohim in the land. By swearing, and by lying, and killing, and stealing, and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood." That's right, the land has been left out in all out corruption. And my people, are these very things happening today? Yes, they are. There's swearing, and there's lying. That's one of the most famous things people say today. It don't matter whether they telling you the truth or whether they lying. They say, man, on God, I'll do this to you. On God, this will happen. On God, I'm getting this money. On God, I'm getting these women. On God, I got the freshest outfit. It's just a bunch of swearing and lying. And it's a bunch of killing. You turn on the news, that's what they lead off with. Someone got murdered in Northside. Someone got murdered in Avondale. Someone got murdered downtown. Somebody got murdered in the neck of the woods of where you are. Because why? And they're stealing and they're committing adultery and they break out and that's all you see is blood touching blood. They can't wipe the blood off of the concrete quick enough before more blood is shed. And it's just blood touching blood. And because of this, because there is no one to stand up and give the truth of Yah, because no one is showing the mercy that Yahweh is showing his people, and because we're not teaching the knowledge of Elohim, and I'm saying us as a nation, therefore this is the judgment in verse 3. It says, "Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwells therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away." That's right, because when everything is off course, and when we're moving out of order, everything suffers. The fowls of the air suffer, the fish of the sea suffer, the whole earth mourns when Yahweh's people are out of course, because Yahweh made man upright. His creations are upright. And this is the controversy that Yahweh has with his people today. And it's a vast difference because a lot of people will say, well, who cares? Why can't we just come together? Why can't we just unite? Why can't we just be under one roof? Why can't we just look at each other? Who cares? Well, to be quite honest, Yahweh cares. Yahweh wouldn't take the time to break down the statues of how he created things and show you what they're for, just for you to say, well, I know that's what you say, Yah, but I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to follow how I want to follow. Because this is all for one purpose. Yahweh has let it be known that the meek shall inherit the earth. So how we going to say that we meek if we not showing no mercy? And how are we going to show mercy if we're not giving the world the truth of Yahweh? And how are we going to be giving the world the truth of Yahweh if we're not even making it known the knowledge of our Elohim? It's a direct contradiction if we're not doing these things. And it's a vast difference between what Yahweh has done, because the works of Yahweh are complete. The works of Yahweh are established. The works of Yahweh are defined. And if there's a controversy, then let us go to the word, to the laws, and to the testimonies, because that's what Yahweh commanded his servants to seek out of. One of the controversies that the world is having today, and it's such a controversy because certain of our people are under the impression that we can call time anytime we feel like it. But like, Yahweh, I know that you say a day begins in the morning. I know you say a day begins when it's light. But Yahweh, I want to begin my days when it's darkness. And I'm going to call darkness day. I'm going to call darkness light. Well, Yahweh said, that's fine. You can call it that. But Yahweh said, it's a curse unto you for doing this. Because what Yah has made, Yah has established. And what did Yahweh establish when it's concerning time? Turn with me to the book of Genesis, the 1st chapter. In the book of Genesis, the 1st chapter, Yahweh is given a document. Yahweh is given a tutorial. Yahweh is given a clear description of what took place in the beginning. And we're going to read about who was with him, what he created, and what he created it for. Why? So there shouldn't be any controversy. So there shouldn't be any strife, because Yahweh would define his works within his word. And in Genesis, the 1st chapter, in the very first verse, it reads, in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said, let there be light, and there was light. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. So Elohim called it, saw it, and he said, man, this is a good thing. Why? Because now you have the preparation of sight. Now you can see. Yahweh said this thing is good. And then what did he do once he declared that it was good? It says, and Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So the first day Yahweh established by separating the light from the darkness. And Yahweh said that when he seen this light was good. And he called this light day. And darkness he called night. And he separated the light from the darkness. Not only are they two different seasons, they have two different names all unto themselves. But what people are doing in the world today, they're trying to combine, or they're trying to reverse it. And they're trying to say the beginning of the day is at midnight. Well, the very definition of the word of what you describe it as the beginning of a day is a contradiction within itself. How could a day begin at midnight, in the middle of the night? This is outright confusion. No wonder the prophet Daniel said that confusion of face belongs unto us, because we just done read Yah's creation, and we done seen what Yahweh has called good. And he said the light is good. And he said he separated the light from the darkness, And he called the light day, and darkness he called night. And this is what happened on the first day. But Yahweh wasn't finished, because there was some more definition that Yahweh was going to give to this earth. There was more definition that had to be defined. And not only was the light going to have a definition, but the darkness was going to have a defined definition. And they were going to be called lights, because Yahweh said when he seen the light, it was good. And let's skip down to the 14th verse, and let's read what these lights that Yahweh made. And in Genesis, the 1st chapter, the 14th verse, it reads, "And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night." The very same thing that he did on the first day. And he said, "And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." And he said, "And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. This is how infatuated Yahweh was with light, that he gave these lights to give light upon the earth. And it says that Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good, and the evening and the morning were the fourth day. So you see that Yahweh took his time, but he always defined light as day, and he always defined darkness as night. And he said the greater light was to rule the day, and the lesser light was to rule the night. And I know some of our people may be out there, they may be saying yes, but that's what you reading out of. You reading out of that janky King James version. You can't just go by that, Brother Obediah. You got to read the Hebrew. You got to understand your original tongue. And we do have to understand our original tongue. But who's teaching it? And whose ways are we learning from? Yahweh said with stammering lips, at another tongue will he speak to his people. So Yahweh going to speak to his people in French. He going to speak to his people in German. He going to speak to his people in Russian. He going to speak to his people in Italian, because our people are just not in the land today. We are scattered in the four corners of the earth. And this is what Yahweh has defined, that he made two great lights. And you can read this in Hebrew as well, because all you have to do is ask your people who are fluent in the language, is there a Hebrew word for day? And they'll say yes. Is there a Hebrew word for night? And they'll say yes. Is there a Hebrew word for light? Yes. Is there a Hebrew word for darkness? Yes. And are they the same thing? No. So the very definition of itself is even in the language. But even if this is not good enough for you, and you may say, well, that's your interpretation. You say that the light is the sun and the moon is the darkness. But we all know that the moon rules everything. Well, let's see what Yahweh said. Let's see what Yahweh's servant has given the testimony to. If you turn with me to the book of Psalms, the 136th division. In Psalms 136, I'm going to begin reading at the 7th verse. And it reads in Psalms 136, it says, "To him that made great lights, for his mercy, it endures forever. The sun to rule by the day, for his mercy endures forever. And the moon and stars to rule by night, for his mercy endures forever." Well, I thought that the moon determines our days. Isn't that what most of our people are going by? Aren't they saying that the moon determines your months, and all the month is a collection of days? Isn't this what most of our people are under the impression is the beginning of a day, is in the evening? when you start to see the moon come out and dominate? But had his servants witness to, Yahweh made two great lights. The greater light to rule the day, and the moon and stars to rule by night. And that's their definition. Now, whatever our people have turned these lights into and made more than what Yahweh has defined, now you have to show forth where did you put your works in on any of the days that Yahweh put his work in. Was you there when Yahweh separated the light from the darkness? Was you there when Yahweh created the sun, the moon, and the stars? Were you there and defined it and said, well, no, Yahweh, this light is going to rule the months as well. This light is going to rule the days as well. This light is going to do this and that. And this light, we're going to acknowledge it because it's the greater light. But this light right here is going to have more of the responsibility. Who was there to declare these works? And let me be honest with you, none of us. The only reason why we know the function of the sun, the only reason why we know the function of the moon and stars is because Yahweh defined it. He said it's light from darkness, and he separated the two. And Yahweh gave the function of these lights. The greater light rules the day, which it says the sun rules by day, and the moon and stars, they rule by night. And that's the definition that Yahweh gave. Now, if we go on by anything else, if we're following after any doctrine else, then now you got to start showing me, well, where are your works? Where are your creations? Because to tell you the truth, there doesn't need to be any controversy with Yisrael between these lights. Because what Yahweh has done for us is he's given us the wisdom and the understanding and knowledge to know the function of these lights. It's the nations that Yahweh hasn't shown that should be confused. It's the nations that Yahweh hasn't revealed his words unto. The nation should be arguing over, but not Yahweh's servant, because Yahweh said this in the book of Jeremiah, the 8th chapter. And this is a truth that most of our people don't want to acknowledge. This is something that most of our people don't want to acknowledge that they're doing. But this is what Yahweh said our people are doing. In the book of Jeremiah, the 8th chapter, I'm going to begin reading at the first verse. And it reads, "At that time, saith Yahweh, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Yehudah, and the bones of his princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, because, yes, Yah's messengers have been caught up in this too." And it says, "And the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves. And they shall spread them before the sun, and the moon, and all the host of heaven, whom they have loved, and whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought, and whom they have worshipped. There they shall not be gathered nor be buried. They shall be for dung upon the face of the earth." And this is what our people are doing. They're following after these lights. They're serving these lights. And they're worshiping these lights. And Yahweh said, well, send them out before these lights for which you are serving. Send them out before them. Because since you want to make these lights your Elohim, then sit your bones out in front of them and let your carcasses rot in them. Because this is what Yahweh gave a definition of what these lights are for. The greater light rules the day, the lesser light rules the night, and he made the stars also. Because what Yahweh has gave us is his word. And his word has defined what these lights are for. But what Yahweh hasn't done is given us permission or given us the green light to follow after these lights and to serve them and walk after them and seek them. And this is exactly what you're doing. People can't declare a year. People can't declare a month. People can't declare nothing without going out looking at the light, and they looking at the light by night. They're not even interested in the greater light. They done made one light the rule over everything. And this is completely out of order. Now, like I said before, I can understand how the nations will be confused at this. I can understand how the nations can be dismayed at this. But how could the service of Yahweh be confused at the function of his creation? Yahweh said this in the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. Because Yahweh is letting something be known. Yahweh is letting something be established. See, Yahweh said that he loves his word. And he loves his word so much that he put his word above his name. So as holy, as great, as beautiful as the name of Yahweh is, Yahweh said there's one thing that I put over my name, and that's my word. And Yahweh is all about his word. Yahweh is serious when he speaks. Yahweh don't speak in vanity like we do. We'll get on the phone or we'll get in the midst of each other and we'll have a 3-hour conversation. And when you leave the conversation and you say, what was y'all talking about? Nothing. And they right, because that's all we've been discussing is nothing. If we haven't been talking about Yah, if we haven't been talking about the works of Yah and giving testimony to the works of Yah, that's exactly what we've been talking about, a bunch of nothing. But Yahweh, not so. When Yahweh says it, he means it. Yahweh is all about his word. And he don't put his word above his name. And he loves his word so much that he wants you, he wants me, he wants us as a nation to be perfectly clear of exactly to be hearkening to his words, to Shema, to hear the words of Yahweh. And he don't want any distractions. He don't want the distractions of any babies. He don't want the distractions of any tinkling ornaments. He don't want no distractions of the jewelry. He don't want the distractions of how good your locks is hanging. He don't want the distractions of how good your beard's flowing or how beautiful the smells and odors are coming off. Nothing to be distracted from his word. And Yahweh said that he did this in the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter and the 19th verse. It reads, and this is when Yahweh had brought our people out to the mount. And he blocked off everything. All we seen was smoke and thunders. But we didn't see nothing. We didn't see any birds. We didn't see any worms. We didn't see any grasshoppers. We didn't see none of these lights that our people are serving and following and worshiping after. And why? Because Yahweh let it be known this in the 19th verse. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven. And when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, and should be driven to worship them and serve them, which Yahweh, your Elohim, have divided unto all the nations under the whole heavens. So Yahweh say, look, I divided the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the host of heaven for the nations. So the nations can keep time. So the nations can know how to move. So the nations can know when to move. But I've given you something peculiar. I've given you something I don't put even over my name. I gave you my word. So you don't have to be dismayed at the stars of heaven. You don't have to be dismayed at the signs that I put in the sky and in the earth. You know when you see the greater light, you know it's day. You know when you see the lesser light, you see that it's night. You know what the stars are for. Because this is what Yahweh has made. This is what Yahweh has created. This is what Yahweh has ordained. And this is what Yahweh has set forth for all the nations. So like I said, I can see why the nations would be dismayed at this. I can see why the nations would be confused at this. Because Yahweh said this in the book of Psalms 147. And I'm not saying this to be mean-spirited. I'm not saying this to make a mockery or make fun of our people. Because if Yah hasn't seen it, shown it to you, and you just don't see it, you just don't see it. But pray to Yahweh. Humble yourselves out and pray to Yah and ask him to show it to you. And he will. Because at one point in time, we all were confused. We all were following after darkness. So by no means is it to make a mockery or to make fun of our people. This is just telling the truth. And this is what Yahweh said his servants haven't been doing. They haven't been given the truth. And in the book of Psalms 147 and verse 19, it reads, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise Yahweh. So like I said, I can see why the nations would be confused. I can see why the nations would be dismayed. I can see why the nations would just start following after the lights, because they look at it and they marveling at it. But Yahweh said, you don't have to marvel, because I gave you the very definition from the very day I created them. Now, whatever attributes man want to give to a certain light or give to the lights, whatever man wants to make, they want to say, well, do you go by a solar calendar? Do you go by a lunar calendar? What do you go by? We go by the word of Yahweh. That's how we know how to count. That's how we know how to walk. That's how we know what to follow, by the word of Yah. Looking up at the sun all day is not going to do nothing but make you blind. And looking up at the moon and stars all night is not going to do nothing but leave you confused. But if you look at the word of Yahweh and you seek wisdom and understanding, then you will know the keys and the ways of life. Turn with me to the book of Jeremiah, the 33rd chapter. Because the sun and moon are important. They are very important. And they're so important that they're covenants. They're one of Yahweh's 7 everlasting covenants. You have the covenant of circumcision. You have the covenant of the 10 commandments. You have the covenant of the Sabbath day. You have the covenant of the sure mercies of King David. You have the covenant of the day. You have the covenant of the night. And then you have the new covenant. So you have 7 everlasting covenants by Yahweh. And these 2 covenants, the 5th and 6th covenant, and it's only befitting that they 5th and 6th, because what does 5 represent? It represents Yahweh's increase. And what does 6 represent? It represents the blessings of man and beast. This is what 5 and 6 read. This is the ordinances that they are after. And if you want to say, well, where did you get that from? All you have to do is read Genesis, the 1st chapter, and see what Yahweh created on the 5th day and what he did on the 5th day, and look at what Yahweh created and what he did on the 6th day. It's all recorded in his word, my people. In Genesis, the 33rd chapter and the 20th verse, Yahweh done gave all the people, all the wizards, all the magicians, all the sorcerers, all the men that want to follow after these lights, he gave them a commission. And he says, you know what? If you can change this, then the nation of Israel shall cease from being the nation before me. And he gave this challenge out. In Jeremiah, the 33rd chapter and the 20th verse, it reads, thus saith Yahweh, if you can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night, and that there should not be day and night in their season, then may also my covenant be broken with David my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne, and with the sons of the Levites, the priests, my ministers, as the host of heaven cannot be numbered, neither the sand of the sea be measured, so will I multiply the seed of David my servant, and the Levites that minister unto me. Didn't I say that King David was the 4th everlasting covenant? And do you know how many of the 7 everlasting covenants connect? Well, they all connect. But Yahweh said, if you can break this covenant of the day and the night, that he won't have David nor his sons ruling on the throne. So there's no kingdom of priests. There's no holy nation to go and teach the world. Everybody would just be literally in gross darkness until we're destroyed. So my people, it's very vital that you confirm the words of Yahweh. Because Yahweh said if these ordinances are changed, his covenant is broke. And Yahweh is not one to break his covenants, because his covenant is bonded by his word. And Yahweh loves his word. And he has placed his word up over his name. Why can't this covenant be broken? Why can't it be undone? Because Yahweh has done this. Not man. Not you, not I, not any so-called scholar. Yahweh has done this work. And it can't be broken because Yahweh hasn't broken it. This is plain simple. And this is what we are discussing this evening. What has Yahweh done and what has man done? Now, what man has done is we see the greatness of Yahweh. And we testify to the greatness of Yahweh. And Yahweh has given us so much that it can't even be accounted for. Yahweh has blessed us with so much that there is nothing that we can give to the Most High that can even pay for what Yahweh has done for us in the day. But what his people have done, because as it has been taught, we ought to do the things that's honorable. And man, those that fear Yahweh, they honor the Most High. And they saying, look, with this honor, I'm going to give Yahweh something. I'm going to give Yahweh a tenth. I'm going to give Yahweh something that's holy. Because they knew what the order of Yahweh's works is. They knew that they are holy. They know that this is something that is important, that can't be rivaled. It's the reason why 10 is in the order of 3. Because this is something holy. This is the works of Yahweh. And they say, Yahweh, for this, for all that you will bless me with, please just let me make an offering unto you. Let me give you a tenth. And now the controversy today is, man, don't give Yahweh nothing. Don't give him a tenth. Don't give him an offering. Don't do none of these things because we in captivity. So in other words, since Yahweh done kicked us out the Holy Land, we look at ourselves as no longer holy. And now we say, well, since we no longer holy, now we don't got to give Yahweh nothing that's holy. Now, what sense does that make? What type of ideology would a servant of Yahweh come up with this? And many people will say, well, I can understand why there's so much controversy with the tithes. Because the church has been robbing our people for decades. They've been robbing our people in the name of God, saying that you have to pay your tithes and you have to pay your offerings. Well, this is why Yahweh said, seek ye out the book of Yahweh and read. Because if you sought out the book of Yahweh and read, you will see that a Christian was never commanded to pay a tenth. A Christian or a follower of Christ was never commanded to pay a tenth. A Christian or a follower of Christ, they were commanded to give up everything. That's why Christ told the man, it is easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into heaven. If you want to enter into heaven, give up all your riches. And I mean all of it. And there's a testimony in the New Testament where a family kept back all that they had, and Christ sent the Holy Ghost on them. Because they weren't speaking about no tenth. They were commanded to give it all up, to let it all go. But this is why Yahweh said there's no mercy. Because Yahweh never commanded us to give up 100%, even though he could, and he will be well within his righteousness to do so. But Yahweh said, you know what? Keep your 90%. You just set aside a tenth for me, because that's holy. Now, you think that that's something that Yahweh just put in the mouth of his servants today? You think that that's just a slick order that Yahweh don't put in the mouth as a testimony today? Well, you're sadly mistaken. Because we're going to read the works of Yahweh. We're going to see what was offered unto Yah, and we're going to see two things. We're going to see where these men were at. We're going to see what thus saith Yahweh, and we're going to see that Yahweh call it anything else but what they are. In the book of Genesis, the 14th chapter, if you turn with me there. In the book of Genesis, the 14th chapter, I'm going to start reading at the 18th verse. And I'm going to start reading at the 16th verse. And it says that he brought back all the goods, also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. And this is after Abraham and his servants had came and conquered. And he brought back his nephew, Lot. And it says, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine. And he was the priest of the Most High Elohim. And he blessed him and said, blessed be Abram of the Most High Elohim, possessor of heaven and earth. And he blessed be the Most High, which have divided thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. Hold on, wait a minute. I don't see no Levites here. I don't see no Levites just getting the tithes. Melchizedek, was he a Levite? No, because Levi wasn't even established at this time. And were they in the Holy Land? Where were they when this took place? When this offering was given? And did it just say a tithe of the cattle? Did it just say a tithe of the grain? Did it just say he just gave him food? Because we already read where he gave him wine. It says, no, he gave him tithes of all. So that means everything that had value, it was a tenth set apart. So whether it was silver, whether it was gold, whether it was jewels, whether it was diamonds, whether it was cattle, whether it was straw, whether it was provender, whether it was seed, whether it was wine, he gave tithes of all. Now today we'll say that's a bunch of malarkey, because tithes only mean food. Tithes only mean cattle or livestock. It's only vegetables. We didn't give money. Well, this says he gave tithes of all. But it says that let every matter be established by two or more witnesses. We see that Abraham did this. We see that Melchizedek did this. Are there any other testimonies? Is there anywhere else where it says tithes of all will be given to the Most High? Because it says, seek after the rock, look to the rock from which you were hewn. Look unto Abraham, your father. And our father Abraham paid tithes. So it would be more than safe to know that he taught his son Isaac to pay tithes. And it would be even more safer to say that Isaac taught his son Yaakov to pay tithes. How do we know this? YIsraEL, Obediah. Man, you just jumping to conclusions. You just add to the word of Yahweh. Well, let's see if I'm adding to the word of Yahweh. Turn with me to the book of Genesis, the 28th chapter. In the book of Genesis, the 28th chapter. Now we seen Abraham paid tithes. We seen that Melchizedek gave tithes of all. Now we're going to read about Yaakov. And we're going to read why did he make a vow in this fashion. In Genesis, the 28th chapter, I'm going to start reading at the 20th verse. And it reads, and Yaakov vowed a vow, saying, if Elohim will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall Yahweh be my Elohim. And this stone, which I have set for a pillar, shall be Elohim's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, will I surely give the tenth unto thee. Will I be goodness? Where was the tribe of Levi? Were they in the homeland at this time? And as it was discussed, and that this was brought out, man, the tithes are not for the priest, not just for the priest only. The tithes is not for the ministers that minister today to be riding around in fancy cars and have jewelry upon our necks. I'm not on no salary. No Mowreh that teaches here at the House of Israel in 1907 Vine Street is on no salary, nor are we proclaiming that we Levites. But we see that our forefathers paid tithes before there was a tribe of Levi established, before the land of Canaan was established. You see that this was something that our forefathers consecrated themselves unto the Most High to do. And they said that they would tithe all they had. They didn't say they would give an offering, just an offering. That was their offering, was a tenth of all. And then say a donation. And then say that it will be a slick little word that we want to come up with today. They say we will give a tenth because they know that when we say tenth, we talking about something holy. We talking about something that's totally consecrated unto Yahweh. You can make a donation anywhere. I could throw some bird seeds outside and just say I donated some seeds to some birds. But if I say I got a tenth of bird seeds set apart, now that's set apart. That's holy. That's for Yahweh. And that's for Yahweh's house. Now again, what you have to ask yourself, is this the testimony that Yahweh has recorded in his book? Well, then show me the testimony of what you're going by today. Show me where Yahweh said, look, man, put away, keep your money. Keep that which is holy and spend it. Give it to your enemies. Give it to your oppressors. Put it in their banks. Put it in their treasuries. And just hold on to it and keep it because it now belongs unto you. Or is that which is holy still which is holy? And the bottom line is, if you're getting an increase, a tenth should be coming out. Because it is that which is holy. It is that of which belongs to Yahweh. And it's that to be stored up in Yahweh's house. Not your house, not my house, not your pocket, and not in your refrigerator. It's to be in Yahweh's house. And why do I say that? We done seen Abraham give tithes of all. We done seen Yaakov make a vow to give tithes of all. But what did Yahweh say about tithes and offerings? Did he say, look, you in captivity? Keep your money. Keep your grain. I understand you struggling. You got rent to pay. Bump giving to me and provide for my house. Give all your money to your enemies and to your oppressors. Is this the testimony that Yahweh is giving? Well, let's see what testimony Yahweh has given. In the book of Malachi, the 3rd chapter. And we went over these scriptures. And a lot of the people that reject this, they seen these scriptures before. Because it's been taught by Yahweh's servant. This was taught by Mowreh Elisha as well. And the bottom line is that this message is to the intent that the living may know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. So if you know this, and you truly know, believe, and understand that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, then you will see this and you will take a precaution to it. But if not, you're going to reject it. And it is what it is. You can't say that you don't know. If you reject it and you said, I'm up here telling a bunch of bull, that's your prerogative. You don't want to give Yahweh what belongs unto him, then don't give it to him. You don't want to offer none to the Most High, then don't give it to him. But just understand when it's at your doorstep, who you got to come to and who you got to plead to. Now, if you're willing to accept that, then by all means, keep doing what you're doing, pimping. It says in the book of Malachi, the 3rd chapter, and the 7th verse. And we're going to read what Yahweh calls it. It says, even from the days of your fathers, you are gone away from my ordinances, and have not kept them. And Yahweh said, return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Yah of hosts. Now Yahweh is giving a strict command. He said, look, you done departed from my ordinances, but I'm going to give you an opportunity. Just return unto me, and I will return unto you. Now, it's a kind of a double-edged question, but it's still a good question. Because the people got a question. They said, but you say, wherein shall we return? How do we return unto you, Yahweh? Are you going to be satisfied with the sacrifices of thousands of rams and bullocks? Because we don't have that. We're in captivity. Are you going to be satisfied with rivers of oil and butter of kine? We don't have that. We're in captivity. Well, let's read what Yahweh said that he will be satisfied with. And he asked us a question. He said, will a man rob Elohim? Yet you have robbed me. So Yahweh asked the question and answered it. He said, will a man rob Elohim? And before you get the twist of your lips to make up an excuse, yes, you have robbed me. And just like anybody else that sold the defense, this is the question that's asked. But you say, wherein have we robbed you? And this is exactly what happened. Brother get robbed. Sister get robbed. You know you done robbed them, but you helping them look for it. Like, man, I don't know where it's at, man. I don't know where your wallet go. Oh, man. It's some sticky fingers in YIsraEL, boy. I'm telling you. Knowing you got their wallet right in your pocket. Knowing you got what belongs to them right in your possession. But you going to play dumb. And Yahweh going to answer it because Yahweh say, I don't got time to play with y'all. I'm going to let you know that you robbed me, and I'm going to let you know how you robbed me. And how did we rob Yah? It says we done robbed him in tithes and offerings. It didn't say we robbed him in donations. It didn't say we robbed them in just offerings. Yahweh said that we robbed them in tithes and offerings. Now you got a controversy with that, then you take that up with the Most High. You have an issue with that, you take that up with the Most High. And you tell the Most High you haven't robbed him. And he will tell you to your face, you a bold-faced lie. And his judgment will be rendered upon you. Because Yahweh then already proclaimed and said we all have robbed him in tithes and offering. But he given us an opportunity to return back unto him. He still haven't cast us off as a nation. Because Yahweh said, look, you done robbed me. And that's cool. But this is what I want you to do. This is how you make it good. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. And prove me now herewith, saith Yah of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there should not be room enough to receive it. So not only did Yahweh give us the antidote to return to him, Yahweh said, look, for the returning unto me, I'm going to give you a blessing. I'm going to open up the windows of heaven and rain you down a blessing that you couldn't even contain. So even in the anger of Yah, he's showing us mercy. Even in the vexation of Yah, he's showing us mercy. Because he said, look, just return unto me. Put away your idols. Stop robbing me. And you can come back and bring all the tithes in my house and you'll be accepted. Matter of fact, I'll give you a blessing. Oh, my goodness. And no wonder our people keep saying we under the curses. And that's all they see is the curses. Because they refuse to bless Yahweh. And they refuse to stop robbing Yahweh. And Yahweh said, look, if you do what I command you to do, the only thing in it for you is a blessing. And Yahweh said, and I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes. Yahweh said, I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes. All this plotting and scheming that the nations have plotted to come up against Yahweh's people, all the devices that they have planned for Yahweh's people, Yahweh said, I will rebuke them for your sake. And he says that he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time of the field, saith Yahweh of hosts. And all nations shall call you blessed, for you shall be a delightsome land, saith Yahweh of hosts. Yahweh say, you want all the nations to call you blessed? You want this devourer rebuked? You want these nations to witness to how blessed it is to have an Elohim so nigh unto them as YIsraEL has? Then let's stop robbing Yah. Let's confirm his words. The heaven and earth and the sea and all that in them is wasn't created by no man, And I don't care how long you've been in this knowledge, how long you've been in this truth, how honorable you are in the eyes of the people. You're not more honorable than Yahweh. Yahweh created everything, including you. And now you're going to tell Yahweh what you're going to give him and what you're not going to give him. And then you're going to tell him what you're going to name it. Oh, the arrogancy of Israel is egregious. It stinks to the heaven. That's why Yahweh said this pride that we have is the smoke in his nostrils. Because Yahweh said we rob them of tithes and offerings. And Yahweh is commanding us to return unto him. And the reason why we have a controversy with everything that we've been going over this evening, we have a problem with it. And this is all the word of Yah. I didn't close this book and philosophize to you. I didn't close this book and bring out another book. I've been showing you in the word of Yah, through the testimonies of Yah, through honorable men. Yahweh says, I'm the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. That is my name, and that is my memorial forever. It don't get no more honorable than that. And we will reject all that because you want to keep that money in your pocket so you can take it to the liquor store. Because you done set apart money, but it's not for Yahweh. It's for the liquor store. It's for the weed man. It's for the shoe and clothing store. It's for the women you chasing. It's for this jewelry that you want to get. It's for this car you try to put gas in. You set apart money. You set apart that, but it's not for Yahweh. You set apart it to give it back to your enemies and to give it back to your oppressors. Well, if that's what you choose to do, then that's fine. But just don't say that your servitude is unto Yahweh. Your servitude is unto you. And they say, how can you say that? How can you be so bold to say that? Well, it'd be simply because Yahweh said that. He said this in the book of Isaiah, the 55th chapter. Yahweh says this in the book of Isaiah, the 55th chapter. In Isaiah, the 55th chapter, and the 8th verse. Well, no. Let me start at the 6th verse. It says, seek ye Yahweh while he may be found. Call you upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. And let him return unto Yahweh.
90 seconds.
And he will have mercy upon him, and to our Elohim, for he will abundantly pardon. And then Yahweh let it be known this. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith Yahweh. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts as your thoughts. So Yahweh say, I don't think like you. I don't take that which is holy and change the name of it.
60
so I don't have to give all that's commanded to me, all that's commissioned unto me. Yahweh said that do that which is right and holy. Do that which is right and honorable. Give unto Yahweh our substance. And you know whatever is holy is the substance of you and I. But you're going to reject it because most of our people are going to reject this because of one simple thing. In the book of Proverbs, the 6th chapter. In Proverbs, the 6th chapter,
seconds.
And the 23rd verse, it reads that the commandments, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instructions are the ways of life. Well, isn't that what we've been discussing this evening? We've been discussing the definition of light is for us to see. And the commandments, the words of Yahweh, are a lamp to the righteous feet. And it says, and the law is light, and reproofs of instructions are the ways of life. Then Yahweh said, if we stop robbing him, that he will rebuke the devourer for our sakes. He given us the reproof. He given us the keys to the ways of life. Now the option is, are we going to walk therein, or are we going to blow out that candle and keep walking in obscure darkness? Well, the choice is yours. Not because I say so, because Yahweh has given us a choice. He set before us life and death, blessings and curses. But he commanded you. He instructed you to choose life. But if you choose darkness, then that's your prerogative. That's what you've chosen. But just don't be shocked when calamity and fear, anguish, pain, and sorrow is at your door. And I don't want it at my door. And I don't want it at my people's door. But if you choose that, then that's the way that you done chose to walk therein. And it's not because I've made anything. I'm just following the instructions of the creations of which my Elohim have made. And I instruct and I advise my people to do the same. So until tomorrow, Yahweh loves you, and so do we at the house of Yisrael. Shalom.
Arise, shine, for the light has come. The glory of Yah has risen up on the sons and the daughters. The darkness is uncovered. Pull sheets of our lovers were perverted till we burn. So now it's time to return back to Yah, our city of refuge. The fountains of living waters. The showers we with righteousness restores my order and turns the song to a king. A song for my soul to sing that brought me down very low. My garments white like the wings. Shaddai Yah, praise be the Most High. That brought me out of insanity, crushed the towers of vanity, and made a man of me. I'm now asking for a key, no longer my refugee. I'm now Yah's planet. We don't march to the city of God. We don't dance, we don't sleep, we don't run to the city, we don't fly to the city of God. We don't march to the city of God. We don't dance, we don't sleep, we don't run to the city, run to the city. 1,000 meters rough, measure waters came to your ankle. The method did repeat, waters came right to your knee. Before you further Joe groins, waters came to your loins. 1,000 measures and the last, a river you could not pass. Everything that touched the waters was healed. Plenty of your fists left to swim. There was meat from the trees, nourished the bodies from leaves. The vision I seen was more than a dream. Waters flow on sides of sanctuary. My heart had joy and merit. I'm renovating my soul until we make it home. Foolish and forever gone. Your spirit resting on my bones. Brothers and sisters, you with me. Let's first that's us really quickly make out those policies 50. So we go.